Is Nigeria really the richest African country? The answer is more complicated than a simple yes or no. For years, this topic has been hotly debated, with various factions offering their own opinions on this issue. Whether you're from Nigeria, the rest of Africa, or even another part of the world, it's impossible to ignore the sheer amount of attention that's been devoted to this subject. To help shed some light on this matter, we've put together a detailed documentary that offers an honest look at the current state of affairs in Nigeria and what makes it such a wealthy nation. We'll discuss how it became powerful, why people think it is the richest country in Africa compared to others like South Africa and Egypt, and whether or not these claims are true. This is going to be the first in a new series that I'm starting on the channel, where I pick one African country and break down core parts of their success or failures in a documentary video. Subscribe to get notified of the next release, which will be about Ghana. One of the most compelling arguments that makes people think Nigeria is the richest country in Africa lies in its vast natural resource. With booming oil, gold, and agricultural industries, Nigeria is well on its way to securing a position atop the continent's leaderboard. When it comes to oil and gas, Nigeria's oil industry contributes over $14 billion annually to the country's economy, making it one of Africa's best producers of petroleum products. Gold production has experienced steady growth over the past decade, and it is predicted to increase further as the new gold deposits are discovered. Nigeria is a major agricultural producer with significant exports of palm oil, coconut, yam, and cassava. Overall, these industries have helped create jobs and produce a source of economic stability for the people of Nigeria. It's clear that natural resources are playing an important role in making Nigeria a top contender as the wealthiest African nations, but this can be said about other countries like Ghana, Ivory Coast, Togo. So what makes Nigeria's case quite unique? Well, maybe this next section will answer your question. Nigeria is the most populous country in Africa and also the largest economy in the continent. Is there a relationship between these two facts? Nigeria's population is currently estimated at over 200 million people. That means nearly 17% of all Africans live in Nigeria, making it a gigantic potential market for goods and services. On the other hand, this means that resources such as housing, healthcare, and education are spread thinly across its citizens, leading to an unequal distribution of wealth and resources. Furthermore, infrastructure is lagging far behind population growth due to the lack of investment. This leads to overcrowded cities with inadequate sanitation like Lagos, conditions that can cause illness and unrest. On top of that, high levels of youth unemployment lead to further social unrest and political instability. So while Nigeria's population can be a blessing for businesses looking to tap into Africa's huge consumer base, it can also be a curse with regards to health, safety, and social stability. This leads us to the next section: widespread poverty and income inequality. What's really shocking is that despite being the largest economy in Africa, Nigeria still has a large number of people living in poverty. Depending on the survey, up to half of the population of Nigeria lives under the international poverty line and often in very dire conditions. At the same time, however, there is a growing upper class in Nigeria. With nearly a quarter of GDP coming from oil alone, Nigeria's economy is increasingly concentrated on oil investment, fueling an extreme income inequality for the country. Many of the poor in Nigeria rely on informal employment opportunities and only earn around $2 per day, while there are numerous billionaires and millionaires who reap the benefits of oil profits. It's clear that to truly solve Nigeria's economic problems, there has to be reallocation of resources away from oil and into areas like agriculture, healthcare, education, and infrastructure. While this may be easier said than done, given how entrenched oil investments are in Nigeria's economy, it's imperative to tackle widespread poverty and income inequality within the country. But tackling corruption and widespread poverty requires the action of the government officials. So are they willing to take this move? Well, corruption says otherwise. Government corruption and economic mismanagement are two big issues that Nigeria faces. Nigerian government officials have been implicated in money laundering, fraud, bribery, and a variety of other financial malfeasance. For example, the current Nigerian president, Ahmed Tinubu, was convicted of fraudulent activities by the United States. As a result of this rampant corruption, Nigeria has become well known for high levels of corruption that exist in the country. Additionally, Nigeria's economy is marked by inequality. The rich are much richer than the poor, and income inequality has only increased over time. This means that the vast majority of Nigerians are not benefiting from the country's economic growth. The Nigerian government has also failed to invest in essential public services like infrastructure, healthcare, and education. These are areas where meaningful investment could help reduce poverty and improve quality of life for all Nigerians. The lack of investment in these areas also prevents long-term economic growth for all Nigerians. Government corruption and economic mismanagement have had a devastating effect on Nigeria's economy, and it is no wonder why some people question whether Nigeria is actually the richest country in Africa. So, is the giant of Africa an economic powerhouse, or is it just struggling? Well, it depends on which way you look at it. On a GDP per capita basis, Nigeria still has a long way to go. The IMF ranked Nigeria 5th in Africa with an average GDP per capita of $3,266 in 2019, far less than the top African nations when it comes to wealth distribution. Some Nigerians may also feel that economic growth has been hampered by mismanagement of public funds due to corruption. On the flip side, it's also a major contributor to global oil production as the 6th largest producer of crude oil in the world. So if you're looking at economic growth potential on a macro level, then yes, Nigeria is clearly one of the main forces driving development and growth in Africa. But when it comes down to individual wealth distribution, more progress needs to be made, like reducing poverty levels and spurring economic growth if Nigeria wants to live up to its name as the giant of Africa. So the real question is, can Nigeria really fulfill this potential? Will it be able to overcome its troubles and become an economic powerhouse? It's hard to say right now, but some analysts say that if certain conditions are met, Nigeria could indeed become the richest country in Africa. How can it achieve this? The first step is fixing the basics. Nigeria is plagued by serious infrastructure gap, from inadequate roads and bridges to a lack of reliable electricity. Unless these problems are addressed, it will be difficult for Nigeria to maximize its full potential. Next, it must train talent. Nigeria has a large population of educated citizens who can produce valuable services, from IT to engineering. However, many do not have access to quality training or job opportunities that make use of these skills. If more investments were made in training talent, including through public-private partnerships, it could go a long way toward boosting economic growth. Next, the country must capitalize on resources. Nigeria has abundant natural resources with high potential value, such as oil reserves and arable land, but these are only useful if they can be put to good use. Investing in better extraction technology and infrastructure could help realize this potential value, leading to greater economic growth for the country as a whole. The future of Nigeria looks bright, but only if these challenges are addressed head-on. Only then can this great nation truly fulfill its potential and become the richest country in Africa. It's clear that while Nigeria is one of the richest countries in Africa, there are still many challenges that must be addressed in order to ensure that the country continues to thrive. With a diverse population and a vibrant culture, Nigeria is a powerful force in the African continent, and its potential for growth and development is undeniable. With the right initiatives put in place, Nigeria could become the richest country in Africa. But for now, her citizens must continue to advocate for economic and social betterment and strive to make their actions reflect their aspirations for a brighter future. Thank you for watching.